What's going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheetsaver. We're going to be talking through this Thursday night showdown slate. We have a pretty good game. San Francisco and Tennessee, two run-heavy teams. Tennessee can't be really run-heavy anymore, but the two teams that have tried to make everything on the ground happen. And San Francisco is a 3-point favorite at a total of only 44.5. Sheets, first thoughts. I know that we talked about this just for a second pre-show, but who are you looking at if you had to pick one side of this game? Which side would you pick?
I do like Tennessee in this game, plus the 3 at home. AJ Brown is coming back. San Francisco lost Elijah Mitchell, and I don't know. I just think I will just take the points. It's really not a strong recommendation, but since you asked me who I like, that happens to be who I like.
Yeah, I'll go the other way with it myself. I like San Francisco here. I don't love the giving up 3 points. That feels a little bit fishy. So I would love it if it was 2. I like it a lot better at 2.5. It's just that's a big.
But I will say that your comments should not go unnoticed. I mean, probably a good game, and there hasn't. I mean, the NFL product's been pretty crappy in these the primetime games recently. The Tuesday games, the Monday games, whatever it is, it's been kind of ugly out there.
Yeah.
And this is a big game. You got two teams fighting for playoff positions of some kind, and I'm looking forward to it actually.
Yeah, and I think it should be a good one. So let me just take a quick look at what I'm looking at.
I pull up my screen yet?
Yeah, let's pull up your screen, and then no, I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay.
All right. So what would you be? What kind of things are projecting standing out for you? I know you generally like to start at the bottom. I like to always look at the running backs, but go ahead.
Yeah. So my problem is that I originally didn't project it with AJ Brown in yet because he wasn't officially ruled in yet. So I'm going to have to be updating that. So like the guys that I was getting at first glance are the guys that are predicated on him being out. But I would say that even if he's in, I mesee, remember, showdown slates, anything's possible. So you get a guy like Cody Hollister at 400. These are the kind of guys I look at, to see if I want to play. And he's going to be probably in my player pool one way or another, whether AJ Brown is in or not. I'm presuming AJ Brown's going to play. But so he's the down at the bottom guy. Another kind of cheap guy is the running back. All the running backs from Tennessee really, but Dontrell Hilliard at 2,800. That totally stands out. And then overall, again, we'll get back to the individual plays, but overall, the best play on the board seems to be Jeff Wilson with with Eli Mitchell out. So that's where I'm going to start, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. I'll start with just this is the first game that we've had where I think I can avoid the top 4 price players, actually the top 5.
Yep.
And I don't remember that happening on one showdown slate that I felt that way the whole season. I think that if you are going to play those guys, I would lean as Kittle as being my favorite, Debo being my second favorite, and Tannehill as being my third. I like the idea of playing a lower-owned Julio Jones here. I like the idea of I like both Foreman and Hilliard, and I think you can play them together if you like the Tennessee side at all. Excuse me. And I like Ayuk a lot. I mean, I'm always gonna be a sucker for Ayuk, right? Like he's running the routes. I understand he's gonna have some up and down games and all that stuff. Super talented guy. You've got multiple avenues to get there. I think you could play him. Yeah, I think you could play him with the San Francisco defense actually, even too. You never know if he might run one back or something. I just think Ayuk is a really, really strong play here. So Ayuk, Foreman, Julio Jones, that whole range I'm interested in. Then Jeff Wilson is the obvious one, but I don't mind if you did want to spend up at the other spots. I think you could play JaMychal Hasty or Kyle Juszczyk, who they will give Kyle Juszczyk an occasional goal line shot. Maybe you don't need to do that. Maybe it's the wrong thing. It probably is. But between the problem I'm having with the Tennessee running game, though, is that Hilliard, but then we've also got like McNichols in to mix it up a little bit. I think the best thing is to start off with Foreman as your main guy, but maybe you do look a little bit more at McNichols in this situation than Hilliard. I really think all those guys, that the conversation is kind of interesting between all of them. And the only problem with using the backup, the JaMychal Hasty situation is you're sort of playing that they're going to be down, which I like San Francisco, so I'm not going to play that angle as much. And the truth is that Deebo Samuel is going to rush the ball at least 8 times, probably. Well, I don't know about at least 8 times. He'll probably get a good share of the rushing game, and you might even get a guy like Kittle involved in the rushing game at some point too, because they'll run those and around things for him. Yeah, I mean, you look at the last games that he's played: 6, 8, 8, 6, and 5 for Samuel, and they're usually in big spots. So those are the guys. I think this is a slate you could leave money on the table too. I like the 49ers defense a lot tonight as well. Not usually something I'm a huge fan of doing. And Tennessee calls a good enough game to where maybe I'll come off of that. Yeah. But I also think that both kickers are strongly in play, and I would lean for Gould over Bullock.
Yeah, that was the next guy I was gonna get to, was the James Hasty, JaMychal Hasty at 1,200. I mean, that certainly makes a lot of sense. Well, let's go back to the main guys for a minute. So what's his name? AJ Brown is what price? He's pretty expensive. He's 8,800.
He's pretty reasonable actually for him.
Yeah, I think that Julio Jones too. I got to update these projections. I didn't even have Julio Jones. This is like really weird. So anyway, I gotta redo all this. So I guess did he come out of the last game? Like, why would I not have Julio Jones?
Yeah, he got hurt in the last game.
Oh, okay. So he's gonna play. That's why.
He's probably, yeah.
So I'll throw these guys back in. And so I guess all the other guys I mentioned are probably going to be out of play. The Cody Hollisters and all this stuff. Boy, oh boy. I think I'm going to agree with you. I do like the Julio Jones play over there.
We're really looking. I mean, honestly, we're kind of looking at a balanced build on a showdown slate, which is pretty unusual.
That's weird, right?
Yeah. It feels like the right way to go off the bat to me. And also, I think people are going to try to naturally just spend up for those top guys. And I don't know. I kind of like this idea of sort of skipping some of the nonsense. And if I do play, I honestly think like there's enough work for all the Tennessee running backs to get there. If there was no AJ Brown back, I just am having trouble deciding between the Hilliard and McNichols.
Is this one of those times you just play them both and take the 5K running back, split up between 2 guys? I mean,
but then you've got 4, but neither of those are the main running back. So you take the 2 backup running backs, which just feels a little bit, it can get there. I haven't done that before. I'll usually play the first and second or first and third string, but not usually look, our boy Rhodey tied for the win last week on the 2 running back thing, but that's the 2 running backs. Those were the 1 and 2s, not the 1 and 3s or the 2.
I'm a little confused. Right, because Foreman. Okay.
Foreman is the main one. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta redo all these things.
As we have right now. Now we could hear some stuff throughout the day where they say McNichols might get more of the work or yada yada yada.
Okay.
Certainly is possible, but Foreman is the guy I think that you want to take. Sorry, I'm still loading our other video at the time. Talk a little bit about some of the other guys who project well, maybe if you did want to spend down.
Yeah. So once again, I just I don't want to say it was unprepared, but I just for whatever reason didn't have those guys in. But I mean, other guys. I mean, Chester Rogers, wide receiver, maybe. Oh, but he's not even that cheap. Juwan Jennings, not even that cheap. Swain, Ferkser. I don't know, man. I don't know what I want to do now. You know what? Maybe we should just be like you said. Maybe we should not be so fancy. Maybe we should play Jeff Wilson. We should play the defense for San Francisco. I don't know. It's gonna be tricky for me. But I do like the idea that if you're gonna play one of the high price guys, my favorite, it's probably your favorite, is probably Kittle. I think.
You like I think Kittle is the one who scared. I mean, like on a full slate, I would be playing Kittle. Like I'm only not playing him because he's going to be pretty popular and he's expensive on a showdown slate. But I do think if you're gonna try to captain somebody, he or Samuel would be my route. I would avoid Jimmy G, and I would potentially play some Tannehill. This could be a really good Tannehill spot. So maybe Tannehill deserves a little bit more credit than I've given him because he's got his receivers back. It's going to be hard for them to run the ball in San Francisco. So Tannehill, and he's got some running backs to catch the ball too. So I actually think Tannehill might be the best of the spend ups, just in terms of who gets to 20 the most off, or 22 the most often. Now the guys who get to 30 are going to be one of Debo, if it happens, one of Debo or the best tight end and maybe the best tight end in history of football. I actually think he is probably the best tight end in the history of football, Kittle, if he stayed healthy. Anyway, that's just where I'm at with the spend ups. How do you view the spend ups? Do you agree somewhat, or with
but what I wanted to also go over is, again, I want to address a comment that someone asked in the Discord earlier. They were asking more about the NBA, but I wanted to bring this up. He was asking me is if in the NBA showdown slate, he said, is it okay to leave money on the table? Okay, in a showdown slate. And the way I responded, and I want to respond it here as well, is that normally it doesn't matter. Like if you have good projection systems and you're going to leave money on the table anyway, I wouldn't worry about how much you're leaving on the table. However, in basketball, salaries correlate to the production pretty decently. Just because things go up in like ones and two halves and things like that. Like you don't have these big one chunk things. And then even when it comes to showdown with the NBAs, yeah, it's okay if you leave money on the table. But what I was mentioning is that with football, not only is it okay to leave money on the table, I think football, it's because the way results distribute, you might want to intentionally leave money on the table.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. So when I keep forgetting to mention that when it comes to the NFL, is that you could set rules, and I think it's pretty smart to make sure that you leave. I don't know. I like 49-1 sometimes, because there'll be people that do 49, right? But maybe a 49-1 gets like slips through or something like that. So I'll make maybe 49-1 or something like that. So I would intentionally leave money on the table. But if you like run numbers, by the way, and you get, without making any adjustments, like 1,500 left on the table, I wouldn't mess with it at all. I would totally leave it as is. I don't think this is going to be the slate where you get that, though. Like you said, I mean, I think that a lot of the dumpster diving is probably not going to be the way to go anyway. So I feel as though that you're going to have to force yourself to leave money on the table.
Right. Like the thing is, what I would look at tonight is like the guy like Juszczyk, for example. Okay. That's a guy who, if he was like 200, I know it sounds, but it's funny because while I'm agreeing with you about that, I'm also saying if Juszczyk was like 200, I would really like him. But then again, probably everybody would. Because they will get, San Francisco is the team that will throw out some weird junk. And I mean, they're not quite the Chiefs, but you're going to get some weird guys getting carries near the goal line. You're going to get weird guys with design plays, like Juszczyk had the design play last week against Atlanta, where they did the little shovel, or was it a shovel or like a little whatever,
it was something,
little quick pass for a touchdown. And if you look at it, the one thing about Juszczyk too is like this guy's got, what does he have, 4 touchdowns this season? 5?
He's like the king of showdown slates.
No, that's not right. I'm looking at the wrong number. He can't have 5 touchdowns. That's ridiculous. I'm definitely looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, I think he's had 2 touchdowns this season. Yeah.
But he's always been the king of showdown slates.
He is. But maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe we don't need JaMychal Hasty. Although it's odd that I played JaMychal Hasty on a full slate, trying to take a shot. You know what I mean? Because Jeff Wilson speculation, and if they're going to be down. If they're going to be down, JaMychal Hasty, if you're going to play the Tennessee from ahead and play a couple Tennessee running backs, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get JaMychal Hasty into the mix a little bit, because he can make up for everything, catching a few balls. Look, he catches 3 passes out of the backfield, and boom, you're fine with him. But one of those he breaks, you're the winner, or you have the chance to be the winner.
And I want to disagree with you. I'm not disagree with you.
Oh yeah, jump, do it. I love it.
I actually, between the defenses, I prefer the Tennessee defense. I've just seen Jimmy Garoppolo throw off his back foot just so many times that
you sound like me.
What's that?
You sound like me.
Yeah, well, it's true.
Yeah.
And that I think I prefer the Tennessee defense over the San. I just have a little more faith that Tannehill, if things aren't going his way, he'll just kind of just run.
Right.
Where if things aren't going his way, Jimmy Garoppolo will just like throw up his back foot for pick sixes. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's where I'm at as far as the defense go. And I do agree that I do like Gould as a better kicker.
Yeah, I wanted to mention a couple other guys that we didn't talk about. Anthony Ferkser, McCole Pruitt. Now, there's a lot of bodies over there, but those are the other cheapos that I would consider looking at, and Trent Sherfield. Those are the 3 guys who are at the lower tier that aren't the running backs that I would consider. Before we go though, I want to talk about captains, because I think that is something that I tend to do a little bit of different stuff on captains, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it's like anything else. But you're gonna have guys like Garoppolo, Kittle, Samuel, Tannehill as a majority of your captains, with Jeff Wilson and some of them, AJ Brown. And I think that you don't need to do that. I think that there are other routes to go. The thing is, like, if you play a guy like Ayuk at captain, now, would it shock anybody if Ayuk had 100 yards catching? And the thing is, he doesn't need to outscore these other guys, because he allows you to have the balanced build still. And I mean, he saves you what, 5K off of Samuel, 4,800 off of Kittle. Even if they outscore him a little bit, you can do different things with your lineup, including playing those guys if you wanted to pay down at some other spots. I also think that this is not a bad idea to try to maybe. I don't think it's quite the captain a kicker thing, but it's like I could see this game on a Thursday like this, like being a little bit. I think it's a good game, but I could see these teams both holding each other out of the end zone and seeing some field goals here today. I like both defenses quite a bit in general, and I never thought I'd say that about Tennessee. I still am a little more skeptical on Tennessee's defense than I am on San Francisco's, but I mean, in terms of my preferred captains, I think it's going to be as some sort of, unless I don't need to get so creative. My main plays are Ayuk, Hilliard. I think Tannehill's probably my favorite spend up for captain, I guess. Ugh, feels weird to say, other than maybe Kittle. Foreman, Hilliard. These are the guys I want to be playing. So maybe I can even spend up and take a shot on one of the big spend up captains and play these second and third string receiver. That's an interesting way to go, by the way. It's a bold move, but you kind of opened my eyes a little bit when I was thinking about that. Like, why can't we on Tennessee's side skip Foreman and play McNichols and Hilliard, which regardless of what they're owned overall, they're going to be owned 0% together, or not zero, very, 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 very low owned together. I just don't see people going that route. But I do think I think you're probably better off playing Foreman with one of those guys. And I would just want it's funny because I want my player to come from, my captain to come from San Francisco, but I don't necessarily think it has to be Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson makes me a little bit nervous. Jermichael Hasty makes me a little bit nervous as a captain for sure. But we know we did get the big game out of Wilson last week. Maybe that is the best way to go. I want it to come from San Francisco, but then I might have to force myself to play the George Kittle or Debo. So I'm just sort of thinking out loud here. It's still a ways to go.
Let me piggyback off of something you said, and I think this is kind of an important point. Like, you don't have to have your captain be the highest scoring player on the slate. You don't have to have your captain being the highest scoring player in your lineup. You know, like if the captain does something to give you other guys in the flex that are going to score a lot of points, I think it's a really good play to like pay down at captain, not so much because of the points that you're going to get there, but because of what it provides. Now, again, it depends on the slate. You know, if you have a slate where it's all kinds of middling guys, maybe it's not worth it. But sometimes when you have, like, I just use these as examples, like let's say you have a Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, right? And you just know you have two big spend ups that you're going to want to get to. And the only way you're going to get to them is to pay, you know, is to free up salary. You put some Alanis Morissette guy in the freaking captain, so you can get these two guys available to play in your lineups. And I don't know. I don't know if this is the slate for that, but it's certainly something to consider.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Anything else, Sheets, before we get out of here?
No. Again, you know, I apologize. I'm going to update all my projection. We'll be there live.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to deal with all that a little bit later.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You know, you never know what kind of coach speak you hear, or somebody's going to be limited in snaps or something like that. So there's always stuff to hear throughout the NFL day, even if there's not, oddly enough, knock on wood, not a ton of question marks on this questionables on this slate.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, good luck to everybody out there. For Sheets and Bobby, and we hope one of you, Rhodey included, let's keep it true team, true DFS. Let's win a showdown. Somebody else win one too.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Good luck, everybody.